Let's build an open world level step by step. For the first step, let's just set up our mesh for our landscape. Unreal Engine has tools to do this manually, but that can take a long time and gets difficult if you want to have lots of details. Instead, we'll start with an external free tool called Gaia. We'll use Gaia to generate our landscape and then we'll import it into Unreal. To download Gaia, go to the Quad Spinner website. I'll link to the download pages in the description below. The community version of Gaia is free. Once Gaia is downloaded and installed, let's start a new project. The layout is pretty intuitive. We have the viewport at the top, which shows the landscape we're building. There's instructions in the lower corner about how to move the camera around. It takes a bit to get used to, but you're using the mouse and WASD keys. Down beneath, we have the graph, which is how we build our landscape. It's very similar to Unreal Blueprints, where we make nodes and draw lines between them. Just to start off with, let's click on Terrain, Primitives, and let's drag a mountain node into our graph. And there you go. It looks like a pretty detailed mountain. Gaia is using procedural generation to create the mountain. It's not using any AI. You can see it on the right-hand side, the settings for a mountain node. The seed number is used in procedural generation. It gives variation to the mountains. So if you put in a different number, it'll look really different. You can mess with this until you find something you like, and then you can alter the parameters to tweak how it looks. We have stuff like scale and height to make the mountain look smaller or larger. The bulk parameter is also really useful. You can make it low if you want your mountain to look more skinny and like a spire, or you can go all the way up to high to make it look more like a mound if you're into that. For our purposes, I'm going to go with medium bulk. Next, I'm going to add a node to transform it by pulling off of the output and then searching for transform. And this is going to let us move our mountain to a different spot in our landscape. We don't want it to be in the middle of our map. Our play area is going to be in the valley next to the mountains. So let's move it off to the corner and rotate it. So the side we like faces our play area. I kind of like the side with the eroded slope most. We created a bit of a hard edge with our landscape. To fix that, I'm just going to set the edge type to thin, and that makes the edge a lot less noticeable. So that the mountain's done, let's throw in another mountain. To do that, highlight both nodes, right-click, and select Duplicate. So now we have two mountains, but they are both in the same spot. So let's offset our second mountain, so it's next to our first one. And then let's give it a different seed, so that it looks completely different. Gaia by default will always show the output of the node you are working on. To stop that from happening, you can right-click the node you want to see and select Lock and Preview. So now we can lock the transform for preview and then mess with the mountain node settings while we are still seeing it transformed. I think I want this mountain to be a lot bigger than our previous one. The edge is still a little gross, but we'll fix that in a second. So we want to see the two mountains together in one output. To do that, we're going to use a combine node. Pull off one of the mountain's outputs and search for combine. Then just put both mountains into that combine node. And now we have both of them in one output. You might have noticed the combine node mountains look smaller and more diminished than the original ones. That's because the default combine method is blend with a value of 0.5. With blend, 0 takes all of your first mountain and 1 takes all of your second mountain. With a setting of 0.5, it's taking half of each mountain. We don't really want this type of blend, we want to use both mountains completely. You can mess around with these different combine techniques, but I like to use hypotenuse because it gives a good transition to the slopes. And for hypotenuse, setting the blend to 1 makes both mountains be fully used. The mountains look good next to each other, but now we have a really noticeable edge. We'll add an erosion node to blend that edge away. It adds exactly what you think it does. It modifies the landscape to make it look like rain has eroded it for years. I'm going to reduce the amount of erosion though. We'll do that by reducing the rock softness. We'll also reduce the down cutting. That looks pretty good. The mountain doesn't look bad at all. I don't like that the landscape around the mountains is flat though, so let's add a terrain landscape to it. There are a couple different options to start with. So there's the crater field, which kind of reminds me of a moon. We could also do a dune sea if these mountains were in a desert, but for this I'm thinking of doing a forest. So let's select ridge. And this kind of just gives us some texture to the landscape. It's not too intense. You could adjust the height to make it more or less intense, I guess, but really we want something more subdued. So I'm going to lower the height down quite a bit and mess with the seed to get something we like. And then we're going to move that ridge over and add it to the combine node. Now it's important to not add it to the pin underneath the combine node. Drag our line over the top of the combine node and let go of your mouse button. It'll show a context menu and then select add new input. Now all three are combined together. It looks pretty realistic because they're all blending together with the erosion. One last thing, I'm going to go to the lower right hand corner and select drop to floor option. This moves the landscape down so that the lowest point in the landscape is at a height of 0. And then I think we're ready to export into Unreal. To export to Unreal, there is a special node for exporting landscapes. Drag off the erosion output and search for Unreal. Looking at the map, the node made the height more exaggerated. Don't worry, the exaggeration will be reversed during the import. Anyway, right-click on the Unreal node and mark it for export. This tells Gaia we want to export the node's output to a file during the build. Then we go to the Build tab to the right of the graph, and we can set where the export will be saved and the resolution it's going to have. I'm going to use 2K resolution. And then for the Unreal node's export type, we want to set it to PNG 16 to make it compatible with Unreal. If you click on more settings, there are some more options. We care about the terrain tab, where it shows the terrain definition. It has a width of 5,000 and a height of 2,500 meters. 5,000 meters is about 3.1 miles. That equates to a 3x3 area, which is kind of big. Let's half the dimensions to be 1.5 by 1.5. We'll also half the height to keep the dimensions in proportion. Then we can close the tab and execute the build, or go to the main page and click on build. The top build option is fine. If we open up the image it generated, H erosion out, we see it's a height map. Our two main mountains are the white splotches on top. Before we hop over to Unreal, you can import maps manually, but it's easier to use the Gaia 2 Unreal plugin. At the top of Gaia, go to Tools, Install Plugins, and click on Gaia 2 Unreal. That's going to take you to the GitHub page. And then you just need to download the version of the plugin that matches your Unreal version. I'm using 5.7. After downloading the zip, let's copy it and place it inside Unreal's directory. My Unreal is installed at Program Files, Epic Games, UE 5.7, then Engine Plugins, and you paste the folder in here. Let's unzip it, and then it's ready to be enabled in Unreal. Now let's hop over to Unreal. I'm going to make a new 5.7 project. Let's name it Forest Test Game, and I'm going to use the first-person shooter template. It's going to take a while to build. Once it's built and open, we need to enable the Gaia 2 Unreal plugin. At the top of the screen, go to Edit, then Plugins, and search for Gaia. Then just enable the Gaia 2 Unreal plugin. If Unreal prompts you to restart, go ahead and do so. Once it's restarted, let's make a new open world level. To do that, go to File, New Level, and then select Empty Open World. This is a completely empty world, so let's first add some default lighting. Go to Windows, Environment Light Mixer, and click Create on all the buttons at the top. Let's save our level. I'm going to name it Gaia Import. Okay, this next part is kind of ridiculous, so pay close attention. The button for the Gaia plugin is hidden. I don't know if this is on purpose or a bug or something, but the button is at the top of your taskbar next to the play button. If you hover over the blank space, it'll be highlighted for you. Go ahead and click it and we will get a pop-up. Click the Import Height Map button at the bottom of the pop-up, and then we're going to select the height map we generated in Gaia. Next, let's leave everything else as it is and select Create Landscape. Importing the landscape can take a while, so we're going to jump forward in time. It looks like we are done and the camera is beneath our landscape. If we fly up, we can see the mountains. Very cool. Now, if we hit play, you'll probably see some immediate issues with the map not loading fully. For now, go to World Settings and under World Partition Setup, set Enabled Streaming to False. This will force your whole level landscape to load. If we then hit play, we will see everything. Forcing everything to load is okay for this example, but you wouldn't want to ship a game that way. It's going to kill performance. So in our next video, let's re-enable level streaming and set it up properly to avoid pop-in. If you like this video, please subscribe and continue along. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.